Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the divine being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the divine being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, 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 and holy beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, I have something. You know, it's always interesting to announce someone's death because from this point of view, it's both a blessing and of course, a great unhappiness for the survivors. Some of you know Aaron Shippey. You've seen him on screen and you've heard his voice and so on. Some of you have actually met him. He lives here in the retreat residence. His mother passed away today of a sudden heart incident. It was known she had a weak heart, but it wasn't, one never knows when this is going to happen. So Aaron has gone home, of course, to be with his father and sister and brother. So Cheryl Shippey passed away this afternoon, leaving Aaron a motherless boy, motherless young man, and she was a rock in his life, so it's going to be very difficult for him.
So sorry to hear that, Brother Shankara. Very sorry that for Aaron.
Yeah, Cindy can cut all that out when she posts this recording, but so I'll just start as I normally would.
Brother Shankara, please convey condolences to Aaron.
Will do. Yes, I certainly will.
Where is home for him, Brother Shankara?
Gainesville, Georgia, not far away, about an hour's drive away from here.
Brother
He got the news about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh,
very sad.
nice.
Please send my condolences to Brother Shankara. Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. Yes, will do. I'll just send the congregations and I'll mention the
Yes, please do,
specific individuals.
Yes, me too, Brother Shankar. I'll drop him a card later on.
Okay, Haima.
Thank you so much.
All right, dears. So welcome and namaste, everyone, to our Wednesday evening reading and discussion of Bhagavad Gita. Our reader is Swayam Prabhu Tyagi, and she's going to tell us where we are in the book, chapter and verse rather than page number. Chapter and verse will be better than page number because we have different versions of the book apparently.
Brother Shankar, I'm so sorry, my bookmark fell down, and Haima told me it's page 47 in her book. But
it's Yoga of Knowledge, chapter 2, Yoga of Knowledge.
Yeah.
And then we finished at just before Arjuna's question again. Krishna, how can one identify a man? who is firmly
Okay.
established. That's where we're supposed to start. But
Okay.
wherever you would like
Thank
to.
you, Haima, for being our guardian of places.
I'm honored, Brother Shankara. I write it down and then keep bookmarks and write it down. Sometimes I lose my marks.
I'm still struggling. Haima, do you want to start? Well,
No.
Oh.
It's go to the chapter 2, Sanjay, Sri Krishna, Arjuna. That's done. And
yeah,
then
that's what I'm
Sanjay,
trying.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Chapter-
No wonder I
chapter-
had the wrong book.
you got the wrong book,
Bhagavad
probably.
Gita.
Wrong
And my
Bhagavad
bookmark
Gita.
is right there.
Okay, you got
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, actually, in my book, it's page 45, but it's
Okay.
Krishna. Arjuna asking Krishna, Krishna,
There you
how can one identify a man who is firmly established and absorbed in Brahman? In what manner does an illumined soul speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? Now Shri Krishna replies, he knows bliss in the Atman and wants nothing else. Cravings torment the heart. He renounces cravings. I call him illumined.
Okay,
Not
let's stop there and consider what Arjuna is asking. Remembering that Arjuna is the every person speaking for all of us. So, of course, we want to know what it is that can give us some clue that we're dealing with an illumined person. You know, how does he talk? How does he sit? How does he speak? How does he walk? Well, notice that Krishna right away doesn't go to any of those more mundane questions, but goes right away to the ideal. What it is that this person, they have nothing and they want nothing. This is the characteristic of the illumined soul. This is the characteristic of the Atman. The characteristics of the Atman are that the Atman has nothing, wants nothing, does nothing, and knows nothing. It's because it is eternal, infinite, and changeless. So, of course, there's no having or wanting or doing or even any knowing, as it is said of the Atman or Brahman. Brahman does not know, it is knowledge itself. And so anything that partakes of knowledge is automatically Brahman, ipso facto. It is knowledge itself, lowercase k, uppercase k, all Brahman. As it says in chapter 5 of the Gita, one who sees Brahman in every action attains to Brahman. So this is where Sri Krishna is coming from. So would you please, Swayam, read Arjuna's question again, and then I won't interrupt Krishna's answer this time.
sure. Shri Krishna, he knows bliss in the
No, the question, please.
Oh, sorry. Arjuna asking Krishna, Krishna, how can one identify a man who is firmly established and absorbed in the Brahman? In what manner does an illumined soul speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? Shri Krishna, he knows bliss in the Atman and wants nothing else. Cravings torment the heart. He renounces cravings. I call him illumined. Not shaken by adversity, not hankering after happiness, free from fear, free from anger, free from the things of desire. I call him a seer and illumined. The bonds of his flesh are broken. He is lucky and does not rejoice. He is unlucky and does not weep. I call him illumined. The tortoise can draw in its legs. The seer can draw in his senses. I call him illumined. The abstinent run away from what they desire, but carry their desires with them.
What is the abstinent? Those who abstain from action and the outward show of desire. Okay, so please read that again because I didn't understand.
The abstinent run away from what they desire, but carry their desires with them. When a man enters reality, he leaves his desires behind him. Even a mind that knows the path can be dragged from the path. The senses are so unruly, but he controls the senses and recollects the mind and fixes it on me. I call him illumined. Thinking about sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Grow attached and you become addicted. Thwart your addiction, it turns to anger. Be angry and you confuse your mind. Confuse your mind, you forget the lesson of experience. Forget experience, you lose discrimination. Lose discrimination and you miss life's only purpose.
All right, this is one of the most famous verses of the Gita because it defines, it's a perfect mathematical syllogism. It just a logical and mathematically correct syllogism. It runs down exactly how we, by thinking of sense objects, allowing our mind to dwell on sense objects, regardless of whether we run away from them or not, if our mind dwells on them, if we think about them, what happens? In this perfect logical syllogism, please read it again, Swayam, from thinking about sense objects right through to the end.
Okay.
And read it slowly and with as much emphasis as you can.
Okay.
This, as I said, is one of the most famous verses of the Gita because it defines without any qualification how we miss life's purpose.
Thinking about sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Grow attached and you become addicted. Thwart your addiction, it turns to anger. Be angry and you confuse your mind. Confuse your mind, you forget the lesson of experience. Forget experience, you lose discrimination. Lose discrimination and you miss life's only purpose.
So you see, the axis of this is thwart your addiction. If you are abstinent, if as he defines it just in the verse before, if you run away from the things of the senses, but are not truly renouncing them, if you continue to allow your mind to dwell on them, think about them, dream about them. And by that I don't mean dream in the dreamless sleep, I mean daydream. I mean dream in dreaming sleep. I don't mean dreaming sleep when we're actually asleep. I mean daydreaming, thinking about how pleasant it would be to take that trip to Jamaica in the winter time, or how much fun it would be to go on a cruise ship and be able to gamble and so on. All of these things that people think about, they think about the things of their past, the wonderful sensory experiences, sensual experiences they've had. It doesn't have to be lust in the sense of physical attraction and actual physical activities with another human being. We can have all these memories of these things. We can have these, and so what happens? Our mind becomes fragmented. We run after this in our mind. We run after that. And then we say, oh no, I shouldn't do that. So we become abstinent. We say, well, I can't take that cruise. I can't do this. I can't do the other thing. But we still think about them. Thinking about sense objects. Thinking about them, you become addicted. So read again, dear, this wonderful syllogism about how we manage simply, even though we don't do these things, if we think about them and therefore and then not do them, that thwarts our addiction and we become angry. It may not show on the surface, but it will betray itself in our actions. As people who read body language can tell you, they can tell when a person is angry, even though they're not acting angry. So please read that again, please. First read what Krishna says before about being abstinent.
Okay. When a man enters reality, he leaves his desires behind him. Even a mind that knows the path can be dragged from the path. The senses are so unruly, but he controls the senses and recollects the mind and fixes it on me. I call him illumined. Thinking about sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Grow attached and you become addicted. Thwart your addiction, it turns to anger. Be angry and you confuse your mind. Confuse your mind, you forget the lesson of experience. Forget experience, you lose discrimination. Lose discrimination and you miss life's only purpose.
Which is the realization of God, is one way to put it, self-realization or knowledge of the Atman. All of these are synonymous. Any concerns or comments or questions about what Swayam has read? Anything you'd like to give us, share with us from your own wisdom or experience about your living with these truths that Sri Krishna just talked about? Anything at all from anyone?
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Of course, Sri Ramakrishna being an avatar, he didn't plan for tomorrow. Even his transportation or whatever. I mean, there's so many examples in the gospel where he just doesn't plan. But for us, to some extent, I mean, in this duality, we have to plan. So I guess the approach that helps us from being dragged into it is to plan but not hold on. If it happens, to plan to some extent, not like to the nitty-gritty detail, but some kind of plan. Be it
Yes,
like,
yes, indeed, dear. We must plan. We must think. What did Holy Mother say? Be calm and thoughtful, thorough and complete. We have to think through things. We have to be thoughtful about them. We have to make a plan. Otherwise, everything is just higgledy-piggledy, and you know, a sadhu can live that way. A wandering sadhu can live from moment to moment, or someone like, as you said, Sri Ramakrishna. But you know, even Sri Ramakrishna said, even an avatar, even an incarnation of God, he said it took him 6 months to conquer physical lust. 6 months to conquer lust. Now that is a huge statement. That is a huge statement. And just how he did it is explained, not in the gospel so much, though it's alluded to, but it is explained in Sri Ramakrishna, his divine play, or the Great Master, which is the translation of Swami Sharadananda's biography of Sri Ramakrishna. So if you want to know what he meant by that, so for us to struggle with these things and struggle with how much to plan, how easily to let our plan go, when this is why it's called the razor's edge that we're walking. I've said this many times, and of course it bears repeating. Even a mind that knows the path can be dragged from the path because the senses are so unruly. So then we have to, as soon as we're aware that that's what happened, we must recollect ourselves, recollect ourselves, and begin to ask ourselves the question that is the heart of discrimination: what is it that deserves my attention? Your plan may very well deserve your attention, particularly if it involves other people. At work, you must plan in involvements with other people. There's a social occasion. Surely it will be pleasant, but it's one of those social occasions that needs a thoughtful planning so that everyone is well taken care of and carefully looked after. So you have to plan. But then, as Sri Krishna said a bit earlier in this chapter, if things go awry and things don't work out, you don't lament. You don't. If things go against you, you release it. But these are difficult things, and this is why these avatars come. Sri Krishna came to share his spiritual treasure and continues to share it. Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual treasure box, as was said in the talk, the keys are yours for the taking. The keys to the spiritual treasure box of these great ones are ours for the taking. They make that invitation, and we'll see that Sri Krishna will soon give us an invitation. In this and in every chapter, he gives the invitation in one way or another for us to be with him, to be near him, to fix our mind on him. He already spoke of that in this chapter. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Swayam.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
my experience has been with the years of practice, our regular practice and meditation, we get closer to these. We get closer to these. We step up every day, every month, every year. We step up closer to these, that we get to self-realization. I'm not saying I'm an illumined soul or a sage, not at all. But we get closer to that. Meditation manifests into this role.
Yes, and it becomes
Regular
easier.
practice.
It becomes easier with
It becomes.
regular practice to
Exactly.
see where the razor's edge is,
Yes.
to walk on it, and to get back on it. That is to say, recollect what deserves our attention when we step off of it. And that is a moment to moment. This is why spiritual practice isn't just something done sitting on a cushion morning and evening. Yes, it is that. But it's something that is, as Swayam was pointing out, it's something that we have to do all the time, every day. How much should we plan? How attached should we be to our plans? How much should we try to make things happen when things are going against us? Very difficult questions to answer. And even Sri Ramakrishna became angry. Even Sri Ramakrishna became angry. Here's how we know. He said to Hridoy, when you become angry, I'll be quiet. When I become angry, you be quiet. Yes. He said those words to Hridoy.
Even though we become angry, we are almost getting closer to angry stage, we realize immediately. As you continue to do the meditation and practices regularly, we start realizing it's not worth my attention to, it's not worth getting angry at all. I need to be more accepting the situation. I need to be more just calm, move on.
Forbearing, yes.
Forbearance, yes. It's like you invite a couple of guests for a Saturday night dinner. Maybe all two families probably will get sick or something happens. They will call at 5 p.m. and say, we won't be able to come. And here you have all the meals done. But, then you will become very understanding towards them rather than being angry. Oh, I cooked this meal. This is an example I give it to people a lot of times. We don't have to be angry. Things happen sometimes. Suddenly people get ill. Or something happened in their house. They may not be able to show up. All your guests, it happens. It may not happen all the time. It can happen one time. And you can make travel plans. Suddenly something happens. You will not be able to go. And that's okay.
The weather cancels your plans.
Airlines.
Thousands and thousands of flights have been canceled and delayed over the last couple of weeks because of winter weather.
Winter weather and the airlines, little disturbance in the IT.
I think the point's been made, and thank you.
Thank you,
Haima. But definitely the point deserves being made. Things will happen. I mean, life is controlled by the gunas, not by us. And so what happens? Who knows what's going to happen? We literally don't know from one moment to the next. I mean, at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Aaron did not know that his mother would die at 4 o'clock. So, anything else, dear, from anyone before we read on? Okay, please go ahead, dear.
When he has no lust, no hatred, a man walks safely among the things of lust and hatred. To obey the Atman is his peaceful joy.
Now, again, this is the follow-on to that famous verse. It's also a famous verse. Please repeat what was just said.
When he has no lust, no hatred, a man walks safely among the things of lust and hatred. To obey the Atman is his peaceful joy.
To obey the Atman. What does it mean to obey something? that we don't know. Well, Sri Krishna will explain. Over time, we will come to an understanding of what it is that it means to hear within our inner selves the intentions of the Atman. And it's this that then becomes the definition for what deserves our attention. This becomes the automatic discrimination. It's rooted very deeply in us, in the Jnanamaya Kosha, the Buddhi. But as was pointed out by Swami Yatishwarananda, very few people ever practice concentration and meditation enough to hear the voice of the Buddhi, except occasionally as their conscience being a little bit disturbed and outraged, but certainly not on a continuous basis. So read those lines again then, dear, and then read on.
When he has no lust, no hatred, a man walks safely among the things of lust and hatred. To obey the Atman is his peaceful joy. Sorrow melts into that inner peace. His quiet mind is soon established in peace. The uncontrolled mind does not guess that the Atman is present. How can it meditate? Without meditation, where is peace? Without peace, where is happiness? The wind turns a ship from its course upon the waters. The wandering winds of the senses cast man's mind adrift.
Okay, there's another one of Krishna's logical syllogisms. Please read that again, dear, about how we get to happiness and how we can miss happiness if we don't learn to control the mind.
The uncontrolled mind does not guess that the Atman is present. Brother Shankara, can I interrupt here?
Yes, of course, dear.
Why is he using the word guess, or does it mean other than what we normally think of as guess? Because it says the uncontrolled mind does not guess that the Atman is present.
As I said, we hear the voice of the Atman as our conscience from time to time, but we don't correctly identify, we don't guess that this is what's meant by the buddhi or the jnanamaya kosha or the discriminative faculty that will tell us, as Sri Ramakrishna says, the expert dancer cannot put a foot wrong, simply because they are constantly in touch with that which is coming to them from the Jnanamaya Kosha, from the Buddhi. As Swami Yatishwarananda said, most people never practice meditation or concentration enough to even know that the Buddhi is there. Now, you can bet that Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood thought long and hard about what verb they would use there. And you can bet that the word guess is the closest to a correct interpretation of Krishna's Sanskrit. We just don't make the connection. What is a guess? A guess is, well, I think that's so. I think that must be so. But it isn't until we are fully in possession of the witness self, the buddhi, that we know. So it goes beyond guessing that it's so. Does that make sense?
Yes, Brother Shankara. I was also thinking, like, when we take a exam, for example, and there are some answers that we are 100% sure, but then there are some we just guess based on, I guess, ruling out the other answers or something. But
Well, based on our intuition, based on our deeper understanding, we yes, exactly. It's our best guess. But those with the uncollected mind, how can they meditate? On Saturdays, we're studying the yamas and niyamas in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And Patanjali is explaining, this is how you get the mind controlled and collected. By these restraints and by these observances. And so and Sri Krishna will shortly explain from the point of view of his, that he's taking right now, how to do it from the karma yoga perspective rather than the Raja Yoga perspective. So anything else while we're paused?
just on a lighter note, I still get dreams so often that there is a examination that I'm supposed to appear in, and I'm not fully prepared, and I haven't read this chapter or that chapter, and now I think it's like a message coming, because if you're just browsing through a subject and not concentrating on every sort of detail 100%, you will not be able to know for sure the answers, and there are some answers you have to guess.
You're right. It'll be harder to pass the examination. But, so that life is an eternal lesson. Swami Vivekananda said, it's a gymnasium. It's a gymnasium where we're constantly having to exercise our physical, mental, psychic, and spiritual muscles. All four of these, physical, mental, psychic, and spiritual. And it's when we're able to be strong in each of those categories that we are able to be master the game of life. Anything else from anyone? Welcome, Balakrishna. Namaste.
I will continue.
Please.
The uncontrolled mind does not guess that the Atman is present. How can it meditate? Without meditation, where is peace? Without peace, where is happiness? The wind turns a ship from its course upon the waters. The wandering winds of the senses cast man's mind adrift and turn his better judgment from its course. When a man can still the senses, I call him illumined. The recollected mind is awake in the knowledge of the Atman, which is dark night to the ignorant. The ignorant are awake in their sense life, which they think is daylight. To the seer, it's darkness. Water flows continually into the ocean, but the ocean is never disturbed. Desire flows into the mind of the seer, but he is never disturbed.
This again is one of the famous verses of the Gita. Read that again, please, about the water flowing into the ocean.
Water flows continually into the ocean, but the ocean is never disturbed. Desire flows into the mind of the seer, but he is never disturbed.
So the metaphor is water flows from a river. It may be muddy. The Amazon River, for example, is very muddy, particularly at rainy times of the year. It's very muddy, kind of a real dark brownish muddy color. But 60 miles out to sea, you wouldn't even know there was a river present, which is, in terms of how big the sea is, it's just an infinitesimal portion. So the same thing, desire is constantly there. It's produced by the gunas. Sri Krishna will explain this to us in detail as the Gita goes along. Desire is produced by the gunas. The desire, it is constantly producing this restlessness of mind. So this restlessness of mind flows into the mind of the seer, but the seer does not allow it to disturb himself, his mind, or her mind. So read that again, dear, that beautiful passage.
Water flows continually into the ocean, but the ocean is never disturbed. Desire flows into the mind of the seer, but he is never disturbed. The seer knows peace. The man who stirs up his own lusts can never know peace. He knows peace who has forgotten desire. He lives without craving, free from ego, free from pride.
Now, how can the desire flow into your mind as a seer and you forget it? The reason is you ignore it. You ignore it. You turn your attention to something more auspicious. And that may be any number of things in the moment. It may be some music, it may be some scripture, it may be your mantra, it may be a discourse being offered by Swami Sarvapriyananda. Whatever it is, instead of allowing your attention to dwell on the desire, you simply ignore it. You turn your attention elsewhere. Does that make sense to everyone?
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
I really liked or resonated with me the difference. Desire flows into the mind of the seer, whereas an ignorant person stirs up his own lusts.
Yes.
So we chase, almost intentionally, the mind goes and chases after things. Whereas I guess for the seer, they're not chasing, but sometimes the desire flows in, but they can watch it and.
Well, or they simply ignore it. And ignoring it, they forget it. I mean, it comes in. I mean, Swami Vivekananda loved chocolate ice cream. There's no two ways about it. He loved chocolate ice cream. But when there wasn't any chocolate ice cream present, he forgot all about it. He didn't say, "Is there chocolate ice cream for dessert?" But when somebody said there was chocolate ice cream for dessert there originally, he turned in a military precision on a dime and marched right back to his chair and sat down because he wanted some of that chocolate ice cream. It wasn't that, but when there wasn't any chocolate ice cream, he You can imagine, he never gave it a passing thought. He didn't even remember his own body. One time he was in a house, and there was this wall that was all mirrors. And so as he was going by it, he stopped, and he was looking in the mirror, and he was kind of pulling at his clothes and just looking at himself in the mirror. And his hostess said, "Aha, Swamiji, I see you do have body consciousness." He said, "No, that's not it. I had absolutely forgotten I had a body." And here it presents itself to me in this reflection. And it kind of, was amazing to him. It can be done. We can literally turn our attention in the moment away from something that might otherwise attract us. And if we turn our attention away from it, we will, as the Gita says here, we will forget about it. It won't continue to trouble us. Does that mean it isn't agitating some neurons in the mind somewhere? Yeah, it is. But your attention is elsewhere. Is that absolutely clear to everyone that that's how that works? It is your attention that you gain control of. And when you gain control of your attention, you can put it where you wish. And you will be able to forget about the objects of desire. So please read those lines again, unless there's something else from anyone. Okay, please read those lines again, dear.
Okay. Water flows continually into the ocean, but the ocean is never disturbed. Desire flows into the mind of the seer, but he is never disturbed. The seer knows peace. The man who stirs up his own lusts can never know peace. He knows peace who has forgotten desire. He lives without craving, free from ego, free from pride. This is the state of enlightenment in Brahman. A man does not fall back from it into delusion. Even at the moment of death, he is alive in that enlightenment. Brahman and he are one. And that's the end of chapter 2.
Mm-hmm. Brahman and he are one. This is what happens when we even experience savikalpa samadhi, let alone nirvikalpa. But Sri Krishna is pointing at things that we can actually experience. This means still within time, space, and causation, within Maya. Because the Atman represents and is the power of the avatar. The avatar and the Atman and Brahman are all one and the same thing. The avatar is simply that within time, space, and causation, or saguna Brahman, Brahman with attributes. But the control of their oneness with the thing itself, the Atman or Brahman, is never lost. That's what's pointed out. So read the lines again from desire flows, or water flows into the ocean.
Water flows continually into the ocean, but the ocean is never disturbed. Desire flows into the mind of the seer, but he is never disturbed. The seer knows peace. The man who stirs up his own lusts can never know peace. He knows peace who has forgotten desire. He lives without craving, free from ego, free from pride. This is the state of enlightenment in Brahman. A man does not fall back from it into delusion. Even at the moment of death, he is alive in that enlightenment. Brahman and he are one.
He is alive in that enlightenment. This is Jivan Mukta. This is being free while still alive. Before we move on to anything from chapter 3, is there anything that anyone would like to add from their own wisdom or experience, or any concern or question that any of this causes to arise within you? Because we shouldn't move on as long as there is any question in anyone's mind.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
So, where it says here, even at the moment of death, he is alive in that enlightenment. Brahman and he are one. I was reading something yesterday. Somehow I came across the story about Dayananda Saraswati, the one who started the Arya Samaj.
Mm-hmm.
He apparently, and I forgot the details, but he was advising somebody to renounce attachment to, I guess, a dancer or something like that, and take the spiritual path. And the woman who was the concerned woman got very upset, and she told the cook to crush some glass into his milk, and the cook did that. So obviously, he got the glass pieces punctured his intestines, and he became very ill after that, and much treatment was tried, but nothing was working. The cook became guilty, and he went and confessed what he had done. So Dayanand Saraswati forgave him, and I mean, I think they shifted him to some other hospital, but nothing worked, and he passed away reciting shlokas. So that is something, again, unless someone has practiced the spiritual path for so long, at the time of like painful passing away, to forgive and say the shlokas would be not possible.
Yes. Yes, that would be the short answer. We can never estimate how long it's going to take for someone else. But as a generalization, it takes decades for us to achieve this state of equilibrium, which is defined in Sanskrit as sthita prajna, the completely balanced human being, centered, so that nothing really, though they may get knocked sideways, they regain their center in no time. The metaphor that works, the visual metaphor, are those big clown dolls. They're 5 feet or so tall. They're weighted at the bottom. And it's this clown figure. And you can bat it to the side, and you can hit it hard enough to where it'll go, the head will hit the floor on this side, and then it'll come back up, whoop, and it'll go over to the other side some, but then it'll just go whoop, 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 right back. In no time, it's regained its upright posture, this clown doll. And it does that, of course, to delight children. They can bat it, and it maintains itself. Well, what a wonderful metaphor for us. Of course, life is going to bat us and present us with very difficult situations sometimes. How soon do we recover? How soon do we recover our center? And the more you learn to watch your mind and be recollected, the more you can see yourself getting knocked sideways and then recovering. And you'll see your mind struggling with it. You're struggling with this recovery. Anything else from anyone?
Hello, Hari Om Shankaraji.
Hari Om Bala.
Couple of things is very interesting in the sense what she said. Even before that, Dayananda, he was able to forgive the cook who did all these things, even on a deathbed. That itself shows he is realized, and that is why he is able to recollect, because he is a state, or whatever we call that state, whether he realized or not. And the second thing is, as you said, the doll comes right back. I think this is what this is what Paramatma says, FIR. How fast you will recover. FIR is frequency, intensity, and recovery.
Right.
These are the three guidelines we could judge ourselves. When we see, because especially when we face, I would say, because the raga dveshas at the body level, the heat and cold at the subtle body level, and the respect and disrespect at the intellectual level. Out of these three, how fast we recover, especially when we go into a situation where this is why some of these swamis in all these in Himalayas, they go to a place for Bhiksha where they get cursed. So this way they can judge how they are behaving, how they are able to recover and how to face it. This is one the way of training. So this is the so it is all in the training.
Yes.
Chatushtraya.
So this story of forgiveness on the deathbed, if we remember, Pope John Paul II was attacked by a gunman and shot in the abdomen. The gunman was aiming for his heart but missed and got him in the abdomen. And the Pope was, had to be hospitalized, and it was very difficult recovery, very painful, very, all of that. It was some Bulgarian that did this. Of course, the man was apprehended and imprisoned. And when he recovered, the Pope, John Paul II, went to his prison cell, forgave him, and blessed him. Now, this is a story that happened within our lifetimes.
Yes.
So this is something that the truly holy are capable of. This was not a pretense on the part of the Pope. This was not acting out some goody two-shoes way of behaving. No, John Paul II wasn't like that. Everyone who knew him said this was a genuine act of love, understanding, and forgiveness, compassion and forgiveness. And so we can see that this is something. Now, could one of us do this? Heaven only knows. It would depend on the grace of our teachers, of our practice, but it is something devoutly to be wished that on our deathbed, no matter how we come there, that we're not thinking of what brought us there and what is taking this body's life away. We're thinking instead of the divinity that lies behind and that will continue without interruption, even though the body falls away. You can't scare me, I'm sticking with the Atman, believing in the Atman, seeking for the Atman. No, you can't scare me, I'm sticking with the Atman, and I shall never die. This is a truth as we understand it from the scriptures and our teachers. So, dears, it's a little after 8:30. How wonderful that we gather like this to study the Gita. The Gita, of course, is inspiring in every regard. And the more we study it and the more we understand what Krishna is saying, the more inspiring and more happiness it brings us to study it. Any final thoughts from anyone? Thank you, Bala, for your contribution. All right. Oh, dearly beloved, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at your feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om Amen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Peace, 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 and holy beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Beloved, make it so. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we all be healthy. May we all be cheerful. May we all have peace of mind. May we be always, and know we are always, in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Any final thought from anyone? All right. So our next opportunity to get together will be a Saturday at noon, when we'll get together to study the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, as translated by and interpreted by Swami Prabhavananda and published as his book, How to Know God. That's Saturday at noon. And then Sunday at 11 a.m., the question will be answered, whose karma is it? Whose karma is it? At least an attempt will be made to answer that question. Any final thought from anyone?
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Well, thank you, dears. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for participating and sharing. Whether you say anything or not, we all know that story by now. There is an undercurrent of unity among us and a sharing going on, whether you ever say a word. That is, as Swami Yogeshananda used to teach, consciousness is primary and is not plural. Our awareness, as it appears in this 6 screens here, our awareness appears to be plural. But behind it is the consciousness that we share, that is our true original nature, and it is not plural. So we feel one another, we have a sense of one another, whether a word is ever said. And that is a great joy, one of the greatest joys. So, a sweet good night to all of you. May you have a restful, restorative, and peaceful night, and may you dream with the angels. Good night, everyone.
Good night.